All right, Miss Ginny. How you
Oh.
doing today?
I am doing fine. I am kind of more relaxed today. It's good.
Good. Well, I thought we should spend just a few minutes before we dive into the questions today, just to share a little bit more about your process and also a little bit more about the multitude and uh, from your words. They channeled a message in one of the prior videos, but just your words of what the multitude brings in, what they can and can't answer, and what information and wisdom they have access to, but also your process as a channeler, what the audience can expect.
Mhm. Well, first I want to tell you who the multitude is. I'm not sure we've done that before.
Mm.
They are a group of healers and teachers, and they have all lived on the earth plane before. And it's called the multitude, which the multitude is a greater good. And it consists of multitudes and multitudes of multitudes. So that is what they have told me who they are. Their goal is to help you become a better you, to help you expand yourself, express yourself, learn more about who you are, and actually get in touch with who you are, not necessarily have to do something on the earth plane. They're always saying it's more about being, it's not about doing.
Mm.
And so that's how I understand them to be. And for me, my process is that I am basically clairaudient. I hear the words, and my focus is on just translating, you might say, the energy from energy into words. Most of the time I can do that. Sometimes they'll just give me a feeling, and then I have to search for the words to put to that feeling, because I'm not actually getting the word, I'm just getting the feeling.
Mm.
And what happens is they speak directly through me. I don't hear the word in my mind and then tell you what I've heard, or hear a phrase or a sentence and tell you what it is or means. What happens is I kind of translate the energy in that part of my mind. However, it comes straight out through my mouth. So I don't digest it first, so to speak. I just let it come through me and right out my mouth. When I do that, however, I'm not always looking directly at the person I'm speaking to. In fact, I'm seldom looking at the people directly. I am always looking off into the distance. And I just want everyone to understand that that's how it works for me. And so I think that's basically what I wanted to say.
Love it. And I can relate to the looking. First of all, I apologize for the flicker. I have a camera that makes the screen flicker. We're going to try to get that fixed, but I can relate to the looking off, because I will often get messages not as clairaudient, usually not as clairaudient, but it is like a feeling, and it's like the process of tuning into that feeling is almost like taking the focus off of the physical realm and going into I don't know, another realm to experience the energy and lean into it deeper. And it's funny because I've watched videos of myself kind of in that mode as well, and I'll even see myself kind of do one of these, and it's almost like there's multiple teachers in the room, and it's like you're getting this information, but then all of a sudden you're getting it from another source, if you will. I don't know if you ever have that experience, but I've noticed that it's interesting.
I haven't done that where I've looked at one way to another, but I have felt that energies change And then sometimes I just have to stop and wait till that energy is completely connected, I'll put it that way.
So I'm curious, you've heard of trans channeling.
Yeah.
And my understanding of trans channeling is like allowing, I feel like I already know the answer to this, but allowing the spirit of a discarnate being to kind of utilize your body, your voice, and like almost take over. But when I watch you channel it, even though it is coming directly through you, and like you often talk about like stepping aside and just letting it come through, it doesn't feel the same as trans channeling for you.
It's not, no. I am still totally present. I don't know how to explain it. The information comes through. I know what I'm talking about when I'm speaking it, but 5 minutes later, it's gone. It's like it's not, it doesn't stick with me. For one, it's not for me, it's for the person I'm speaking to. But yeah, no, I am not a trans channel.
Yeah, the people who I've watched who talked about being a trans channel, they'll say like they just go off and they're like not even present, and then when they kind of come back into their body, it's like a no recollection of what's gone on. I guess, it's funny because now my mind is going to places like, well, because I like to know things.
Go ahead. Yes.
I get this feeling, and maybe you can tell me, or the multitude can validate or not. I get this feeling that the art of trans channeling is like to allow a single spirit, if you will, or discarnate being to take over. And that's more of like a denser vibration, versus the multitude feels like a really light vibration that wouldn't really happen with the multitude, also because it's like a number, it's like a collection of souls.
Yeah, well, as far as being a collection of souls, it comes through in one voice anyway. So I don't think that part really makes a difference.
Okay.
I forget what you were talking about, the first part of that question, but
yeah, if it's like
a denser,
yeah,
a lower, denser energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. It did happen one time to me. And I was aware that it was happening, and I remember what happened during it, but it's like this energy came in, and we were sitting around the kitchen table. This is interesting. I hadn't thought of this in years. And this was years before I started channeling, is that, my daughter was sitting on one side of the table. Her friend was sitting directly across from me at the other head of the table. And this energy came in, and it was looking at my daughter, and then it looked at her friend, and then it looked somewhere else. I think somebody else must have been sitting there. And then, but I remember all that. I just know that when that was happening, what I saw was them and then darkness. So this energy did come in. It was not a negative energy. It felt comfortable. And actually, what I thought it was is my dad wanted to check out what was going on for my daughter.
Oh.
So, but
Wow.
it never happened that way for me again. It was just from then on, I'm just very present during it all.
That's so interesting, and also to hear that it happened in a moment of life and not like as you were doing your work, this work.
Right. Oh yeah. Right.
And actually, I'd love to point something out, because I can feel people listening this and almost like having fear around that. And I would love to bring through a teaching that I learned from the multitude and from you, and studying this kind of work, because I think a lot of people have fears around this work. That like, we often hear like, oh, it's the devil's work or whatever. I think it's just like widely misunderstood, and maybe who knows, maybe some of those narratives were meant to protect us, or just a vast misunderstanding of how energy works. And one of the things I learned that really helped to free me from a lot of the fear around this work, because I did have fear coming into this, even though I was intrigued and like felt a pull, I had that Catholic upbringing of like, this is not good, you know, and actually being friends with you and coming to your work helped me to release a lot of that. So that was a long way of getting to, I could feel people maybe have fear, like, oh my gosh, this spirit just took over her body unwillingly. And on the soul level, especially you knowing it was your dad, that permission is granted on the soul level, that maybe in that moment your ego self, your now self known as Ginny, didn't know it was coming, but on the soul level you've given permission on some level for that to be allowed in that moment, and that you're not a victim to that moment. I feel like it's important to mention that.
Yeah.
I don't know, anything you want to add to that, or
Yeah, it brings up a story from when I was in elementary school.
yeah.
I had this one nun. I had her twice. I think once in second or third grade, and once in eighth grade. But when I was in second or third grade, whichever one it was, they had just finished a lesson on religion, and she moved over to the side of the room, and the kids were going out of the room for a break or something. And I went up to her, which is so totally out of character for me, because I was just so shy. I went up to her and I said something to the effect that that was wrong and it wasn't true. And she just, I don't know what she said, but she didn't deny me and she didn't put me down, and she just accepted that what I said was okay. And I still remember it after all these years. So it was important that I said that to her. And it also leads into what you said about on the soul level knowing
Yeah.
what's right and what's for you. So
Yeah, this conversation is not going at all how I thought it was going to, but I'm going to step into the flow with it, because I think it's important. I think that, and it's been part of both of our journeys of accepting and trying to rationalize from, you know, having a certain upbringing and where we're told this is good or bad, this is bad, what we do, you know.
yeah.
But to understand it on a deeper level. And I remember being in a circle, you know, like a intuitive development circle, and this one girl, like, kind of fearing doing this work because she was experiencing what we would call hauntings. And she felt powerless to these hauntings, and they felt scary, and the things she was experiencing were scary. And I remember just having this knowing that it was happening for her, that on some level there was like a soul contract for this to happen to her so that she could overcome it and learn her power. Like, in other words, having this experience, she was stuck in powerlessness and helplessness, that she felt victim to this circumstance, but it was actually charted for her to overcome, to learn her power and step into her power. So I think there's like so many ways to look at experiences like that. When you experience energy in those ways, it's like, you know, perhaps it's just something that you are meant to experience. Your soul has allowed to have you experience in order for you to learn something. Or perhaps there is a soul kind of stuck in that area that is looking for healing, or I don't know. I feel like there's so many ways to look at those things, but in any way, to look at it not from a place of powerlessness or fear.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know. Anything you want to add to that?
yeah, fear. There's a lot of, I don't know, fear from, I guess, past life experiences that I've had that have prevented me from moving forward and putting out to the public what I do.
Yeah.
I'm fine with bringing people into my home, having groups, having, one-on-ones, but putting myself out there in a public setting has been really hard for me. And I've been working through it, but I do know it is from past life experiences where I've been not only judged, but actually physically, I the one vision that I had was that I was up on a stage talking to a big crowd of people and they started throwing tomatoes at me. And now I know that was symbolic and that did not actually, it may have happened, but I doubt it.
Mm.
But it's symbolic of having not been accepted and penalized in some way. So that has kept me from putting myself out there in a major way, which this information I think is important for a lot of people to hear, if they're open to it.
That's interesting too, because here you've come into a time where that persecution is amplified, I feel like, because we are living in a time where we're communicating not just with our village anymore, but with the world. We can communicate with the world very easily through social media. And so that energy of fear of persecution can almost be amplified by the current times, right? Like every time you and I start to do this, we're both like, oh, this feels uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
we're going to push ourselves through it. Do you feel like that's important information for people to know, that like if you are already embody a certain energy, like let's call that energy fear of persecution, and then you bump into it in life, it kind of gets amplified.
Well, it's there to help you learn and help you heal from those experiences. I've learned from the multitude is that, we bring experiences into this life that we've experienced in past life experiences, but we need to have healed. So when we bring them forward in this life, it's for us to take a look at them and heal the emotion behind them, because it is the emotion that we carry, and it's the emotion of fear or the emotion of whatever, and that's what needs to be healed.
Mm. Love it. And I feel like you and I are definitely on the same page, where we believe that most of the purpose of life is to heal on the emotional level.
Well, that's that's the reason for our lives.
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
Our lives.
Yeah.
Because there are people who come just to experience life. There are people who come just to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are those like us who come to heal and to help others heal and whatever, move on. So raise one's vibration, maybe.
Yeah. All right. So that's a perfect segue into the questions I had prepared for today.
Right.
Because I think it lays some good foundation for this topic. So the topic I've prepared for today has to do with purpose, because I think that a lot of people in this world of intuition and awakening, and people who are exploring in this realm, they tend to really hone in on, suddenly they feel like there's a purpose to their life and they need to find it, and that sort of thing. So I think, though, even for folks who are not having, let's call a spiritual awakening experience, or those who are not on a spiritual path, if you will, that's how we label it, right? A spiritual path. But there seems to be this pressure to find one's purpose. And I guess the question is, for the multitude, is if they can, I'm going to just ask the whole long question, and then I know you'll be able to channel the answer. So can the multitude bring clarity to this part of the human experience, this idea of having pressure to find one's purpose. Like, why do humans feel it's so important to find their purpose? And do they come into each lifetime with an overarching purpose? Or is there something they can say about life purpose? And then, well, let me just, hang on, let me read the rest of what I have to see if it's,
Or maybe another question.
yeah, I think that's going to be a follow-up, or they might just answer it. We'll find out. Okay.
It is important to understand, my dear, that when one comes to the earth plane, one already knows what it is that one wishes to achieve during their life experience. It is important to understand it is about expansion of oneself. It is not about finding what is out there. It is about understanding what is within. When one is ready to make a move, one chooses a particular path or non-path. And when one chooses that which is not right in one area or another, there is always the opportunity to change one's path, change one's mind, change one's experience. It is important to understand there is no real purpose other than what one has decided for oneself to learn, to experience, to be, much of which is laid out in the spiritual before coming to the earth plane, charted, so to speak. If one sets up a chart where one wishes to experience overcoming fear, as has been mentioned today, one will bring to oneself experiences in order to feel that fear. And in feeling that fear, one is able to heal that fear. There are, of course, logical ways of looking at it. However, it is the feeling that is the healing portion. When one comes to the earth plane and wishes to heal something on a different level, one will bring an experience to that level in order to allow one to feel the expression, feel the feeling, feel the undeservedness, perhaps, or the inability to be who one is. It is important to understand that when one moves forward from this sense of self and being, one will be able to allow oneself the healing required, therefore moving oneself one step closer to who one wishes to be. Oh, that's interesting. Wishes to be on the spiritual level. When one moves forward on the earth level, one moves forward on the spiritual level. We can tell you a great deal more is accomplished in spirit than on the earth plane. And it is the earth experiences that contributes to one's total sense of self and being. Do not be concerned, all is love.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember now, the part where you paused, because it was the first time I heard them say something like that. Damn, I can't remember now. Do you?
Because about the part about healing on the spiritual level, and a lot more is accomplished in spirit than on the physical level.
Yeah, but I feel like I've heard it. Maybe it was just something I felt energetically when you said it, though.
Could be.
Okay, well, I'll do the follow-up question. Okay, so when a soul charts out their life before coming into an incarnation, just like they talked about, like the soul knows before they even come in what they're here to accomplish, right? Do they choose? I feel like I know the answer to this, and I just want the audience to hear it because I feel like it's so powerful. Does the soul choose in advance the vocation or means to carry out or experience or achieve their purpose? So in other words, like you hear people talk about like, I just know I'm meant to be a nurse, or I just know I have this calling, right? So my question is like, well, when does that calling come in? When does that sense of vocation? Because a lot of people maybe not on a spiritual path are like, oh, there's this, again, the pressure to know what you're going to be when you grow up, right? So is there instances where that vocation or that very specificity of the path is charted before the soul comes in, or is it as the soul is traversing this life? Like, does it unfold naturally once you're on the earth plane, or is it something that's I can't even say it, Jenny. Specificity. Okay, well, that specificness charted out before, like, not just me and you, but in general. Like, I'm curious if it can be either or, if it's always nope, it's before you get here, or nope, it's as it unfolds.
It is important to understand that there is no set way, there is no set path. However, one chooses that which is most comfortable for them. If one is experienced in taking care of others in a physical way, one will choose a physical helping path. If one is experienced in helping others, say in a, I don't know,
Spiritual or energetic.
yes, that, or like a psychiatrist in an emotional way.
Okay.
One will follow that path. It is what one has experienced over many lifetimes of being, and one chooses to continue. If one chooses to change a path, that is quite acceptable. However, in our estimation, most people will choose to expand themselves through that which they know. And that which they know is that which they have experienced and expanded. Therefore, we would highly recommend that one not be so concerned about what one's purpose is, as one already knows who one is before coming to the earth plane. If one chooses to expand that option, they are quite able to do so. If one chooses to change and learn a new way of being, or take a different path, they are free to do that. It can be decided whether it be on the spiritual plane or the earth plane. It does not matter. When one moves forward, one moves forward. And that is all that matters in the expansion of oneself. Do not be concerned, all is love.
Good one. I like that. So what I got out of that was it can be either.
Either or.
And that when you might feel really comfortable doing something that, like, you might feel that calling because you've done it before, and that's why you feel that pull, because it's so familiar. You've done it lifetime after lifetime after lifetime.
Yeah, I think I'd like to add the word knowing to just explain that. You just know, somehow you know within yourself. It's that intuitive knowing, but on the earth plane, we are not always aware of the intuition. We just know that we know somehow.
Yeah,
Call it calling.
I like that. Okay, so to continue on that, if the multitude could share, how does one know that they are in alignment with their purpose?
It is important to understand that on the earth plane, it is very difficult to know. However, it is a feeling. It is a feeling of being. When one is quite content with who they are in alignment with themselves. If one believes there is a problem, however, there is a problem. And when one understands that one, has the opportunity to choose that which is right for them and moves forward in that area, they will allow themselves to move forward. In our estimation, It is quite right that it be this way. It is quite right that one understands that there is opportunity, whether it be from within or from without. One has the choice, the option of allowing oneself to expand in one way or another. It does not matter. What matters is that one moves oneself forward. That is all that matters. Sometimes moving oneself forward encompasses taking a step back. One on the earth plane may feel defeat in that observation. However, it is not moving oneself backwards. It's just moving oneself forward differently. In our estimation, it is all a part of the process of being on the earth plane. As when one comes to the earth plane, one understands it is a learning opportunity, not necessarily a place of it's like rigidness, connectedness in that way. It is a matter of openness to being who one is, or changing that part of oneself that one wishes to expand differently. Do not be concerned. When one moves forward, it is always for one's highest and greatest self, one's highest and greatest purpose, and one's highest and greatest being. Do not be concerned. All is love.
So really, like, to have regrets is almost fruitless. Although I can hear them saying, like, well, so if someone is meant to experience regret, then they're going to experience regret, and getting through that is part of the learning and the moving forward.
It's like that is truth, but that is not always necessary. When one lives in regret, one stops oneself from growing. However, when one notices it, has a regret, and allows oneself to move forward regardless, and allows oneself to feel the feeling around the regret, then one is able to heal the feeling around the regret. Regrets are inevitable in our estimation. However, it is important to understand that regrets are part and parcel of living on the earth plane. And when one is in that state of being, one is unable to move forward in it's like the expansion of self in a higher and greater way. One can only see what one can see when one is it's like stuck there.
Cool. It's interesting. I don't know why I'm being brought to this now. And if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to, but my mind is being brought to, like, the real deep pain that humanity experiences, and then it's being brought to regret on the soul level. And so what comes to mind are humans who who have done things that cause great pain to another. And I guess I'm wondering if there's, like, I don't know, you hear a lot about people who after they pass, whether they're, like, really stuck in regret for whatever reason, like things they've done, but then there's, like, really horrible things that humans do, like unspeakable. And that, is there, like, this process that the soul goes through when the soul exalts from the body and returns back to source? Is there a process that the soul might feel regret for all the pain that they've afflicted onto others, or the harm they've done to humanity? And then does the soul experience that growth process in the same way of, like, needing to move forward? I don't know why that's where I'm going right now.
It is important to understand the soul experiences it all. It experiences that part on the earth plane that one has played in the detriment of others. It also experiences on the soul level, after returning to source, as you say, the experience of others, having gone through that experience on the earth plane. It is important to understand it is all about learning. One learns who one is on the earth plane. One can assimilate all of who one is on the spiritual plane. When one allows oneself on the earth plane to be in a state of like detriment to others, or understand that the only way through life is to hurt another, it has a great impact on one's spiritual self. When one like commits these crimes or experiences this vindictiveness, or just wants to do harm to others, it is important to understand that there is a reason behind that. And when one comes home, so to speak, one is able to see the reason behind that. It is important to understand that when one returns to spirit, one is able to take advantage of the whole picture, the whole part of not only oneself, but each and every other connection that one has made. In our estimation, it is the way one learns best. There are those who commit atrocities, and there are those who receive atrocities. And when these things happen, there is not really a regret. There is a learned experience. And on the spiritual plane, that is what it helps one expand oneself, helps one grow into who one is, and helps one accumulate knowledge, information, love, care, and understanding of who one is, what one wants, and what one needs.
And all is love. Oh, I feel sick talking about it, honestly.
Yeah, but sometimes things have to be talked about.
I know. It's my clairsentience picking up on the energy of it in my, yeah, it's like all my solar plexus.
It's important to understand, my dear, that you have lived many lifetimes on both sides of the fence. Most everyone has. And it is also important for you to understand that you have learned a great deal through the process. We would highly recommend that you allow your spiritual self to handle the backlash and atrocities rather than your physical self. When you say, I feel sick to my stomach, understand when it is that you believe there is a real problem within you, there is that. However, we can tell you the real problem is not within you. It is within your understanding on the earth plane. When you can understand that it is part and parcel of one's growth system, part and parcel of one's growth and understanding, then you will be able to allow yourself the ability to be on the earth plane in the understanding that it has all happened for your growth, experience, understanding, allowing, and pursuit of being. Do not be concerned. When one returns to the spiritual plane, one is able to differentiate between one and the other and assimilate all that is important for one to assimilate. We would highly recommend that you stand straight and tall in your own shoes. Allow yourself to experience your current life for the life that you have chosen, and let others experience their current lives for the lives they have chosen. Do not be concerned, all is love.
I felt a lot of shift in that message,
Oh,
a
good.
lot of healing. So it's something real, and I feel a lightness now.
Good.
Something good for those watching to know that when Ginny channels these higher realms, a lot of healing comes through with the message, and it's almost like happening on the soul level. Like we don't have to know what it is, but you can often feel it in your body, the shifts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have another question.
Okay. So the last one, because I have to be going.
Okay.
And so do you. I know you have a commitment to.
Yeah. I feel like I know what they're going to say, but like, and I can feel it from anyone watching this, like, why does that have to happen? Why does that have to be that way? Who is the designer of this learning system that atrocities have to be experienced? Why is that? And who designed it? And I mean, I'm asking the big questions now of like God and why is, all that, but let's hear it from the multitude.
It is important to understand that there is a collective consciousness on the earth plane. There is also a collective consciousness known as a soul group on the spiritual plane. And that soul group knows what is required for itself to expand itself, for itself to experience all experiences, for itself to move forward in a higher and greater vibratory experience of self. It is not a matter of what happens on the earth plane or the earth body. It is a matter of what happens on the spiritual plane when one has, it's like committed to one way or another on the earth plane and assimilates that part of their experience into their full selves. As you know, there is a great deal more of each one in spirit than there is on the earth plane. And that part in spirit assimilates all the information and knowing and learning and loving from each one's life experiences that one has. It's actually, we would call them past lives, but the experience of life in very different manners. In our estimation, all that information is assimilated for that person on the spiritual plane, and that person has access to that information in every lifetime they choose to live. Therefore, it is a matter of learning, knowing, experiencing, allowing, and bringing forth the information when the information is required. In our estimation, that is how it works. It is very difficult to explain the experiences or it's like the way it works for people on the earth plane to understand, as there is a great deal more that is unable to be understood on the earth plane. Therefore, people have questions. But once they return to their spiritual home, then they are able to see and understand a great deal more. Do not be concerned. All is love. And we would like to thank you for this opportunity to share our knowledge and to help others grow in the highest and greatest way that they can. Do not be concerned. All is love.
Thank you. I still want to be like, to what end? That'll be next time.
Next time. All right. Well, thank you, Kelly.
Ginny, and thank you to the multitude for teaching us today. That was a good one.
Yes, and thank you to all our listeners and
that was fun.
and for the experience. Thanks.
Thanks, Ginny. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.